The massive crystal dome of Unity Point Space Station sparkled with the light of 1,000 stars. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, representatives from over 30 spacefaring civilizations sat in tiered seats that rose like waves around the central speaking platform. The air hummed with translator devices and quiet conversations in hundreds of languages. Ambassador James Miller adjusted his plain black tie and checked his tablet one last time. Unlike the other representatives who wore elaborate ceremonial garments or environmental suits, he had chosen a simple Earth-made suit. After 3 years as humanity's voice in the Galactic Council, he knew that appearing ordinary could be an advantage. "The Council recognizes the representative from the Bright Ones," announced the Council speaker, a tall, crystalline being who served as the neutral moderator. Miller watched as the Bright One delegate floated to the central platform. Like all their species, the delegate glowed with internal light that shifted between blues and greens. Their voice rang through the chamber with practiced authority. "The war against the deep dweller aggression continues. We request all neutral parties to reconsider their position and join our righteous cause." From his seat in the lowest tier, the place reserved for primitive species, Miller made notes. The Bright Ones always spoke of righteousness, but their actions told a different story. His military aide, Tom Reed, sitting quietly beside him, passed him a note. "Refugee numbers increasing. Station 47 at maximum capacity." The Council speaker acknowledged the deep dweller representative next. Their delegate, a massive being with dark, almost liquid-like skin, moved to the platform. Their voice was deeper, filled with barely contained anger. "The Bright Ones speak of righteousness while they bomb our civilian stations. We have lost contact with 3 colony worlds in the past month alone. Where is the Council's action?" Murmurs filled the chamber. Miller noticed how the supposedly neutral representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The war had been raging for 2 years, and most species tried to stay out of it. The Bright Ones were ancient and powerful, while the Deep Dwellers controlled crucial trade routes. Nobody wanted to choose sides. "The Council calls for both parties to return to negotiations," the speaker announced, following the same script they had used for months. Miller felt his tablet vibrate. A message from Earth Command. Intel confirmed. "Proceed with observation protocol." He stood up, drawing surprised looks from nearby representatives. Humans rarely spoke in council sessions. The speaker's crystalline form turned toward him. "The Council recognizes the representative from Earth." Miller walked to the platform, feeling the weight of hundreds of eyes on him. Most would be wondering why a primitive species would dare speak during such an important discussion. Earth had only achieved faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. To many of these species, humans were barely more than clever animals. The Earth delegation would like to request permission to establish humanitarian aid stations near the conflict zones, Miller said, keeping his voice steady and professional. "We have medical ships ready to assist civilians from both sides." The Bright One representative's glow pulsed with what Miller had learned was amusement. "While we appreciate the enthusiasm of our young friends from Earth, this conflict is beyond their understanding. We suggest they focus on developing their own civilization first." Miller bowed slightly, accepting the dismissal with apparent humility. As he returned to his seat, Tom whispered, "They took the bait. 3 stealth ships just got permission to enter the war zone." The rest of the session continued as expected. More speeches, more calls for peace, more careful neutrality from powerful species. Miller appeared to take notes, but he was actually reviewing the latest military readiness reports from Earth's hidden fleets. The Bright Ones had dismissed humanity as insignificant, and that was exactly what Earth needed. As the session ended, Miller packed his tablet and stood to leave. A representative from one of the neutral powers stopped him. "That was brave of you, speaking up like that," they said, their translator making their tone clear. "But be careful. Young species that get involved in ancient conflicts often don't survive." Miller smiled politely. "Thank you for your concern. We humans do try to learn from history." What he didn't say was which history they had learned from. Earth had seen tyrants before, had watched as civilized powers appeased them, had witnessed the cost of waiting too long to act. This time would be different. He just had to wait for the right moment to show the galaxy exactly what humanity could do. The secret meeting room deep within Unity Point Station had no windows. Miller sat alone at the table, reviewing the classified reports on his secure tablet. The images made his stomach turn. The door slid open. Tom Reed entered, followed by 3 Deep Dweller refugees. Their liquid-like skin rippled with exhaustion as they settled into the 2 small chairs. "Thank you for meeting in secret," the eldest refugee said, her translator making her voice sound rough with emotion. "We risk much by coming here." Miller nodded. "Earth appreciates your courage. Please, tell me what you saw." The youngest refugee moved forward. The wounds on his skin hadn't fully healed, leaving dark patches that barely rippled. "I worked in their research facility. They're building something terrible, something that breaks apart molecules. They tested it on my home station." Tom activated a hologram showing the latest intelligence photos. "Is this the weapon?" The refugee's skin went completely still, a sign of horror in their species. "Yes, but this is bigger, much bigger." Miller shared a grim look with Tom. Earth's stealth ships had discovered these installations 2 months ago. The Bright Ones were building planet killers, weapons that could tear apart entire worlds. "Why did they attack your station?" Miller asked gently. "Because we found out the truth," the 3rd refugee said. "The Bright Ones started this war. They attacked their own colonies and blamed our people. We found proof in their data systems." Miller's tablet beeped. A message from Earth Command appeared. "Fleet Group 7 in position, awaiting further intelligence." The eldest refugee leaned forward. "You're different from the others. The other species ignore us, fear getting involved. But your ships, we've seen them. Watching, helping evacuate civilians when they can. Why?" Miller stood and walked to a wall screen. He activated it, showing Earth's historical archives. Images of old wars, of Holocaust camps, of killing fields, of genocides that humanity had sworn to never let happen again. "Because we've seen this before," he said quietly. "We were like you once, divided, fighting among ourselves. We had powers that claimed peace while planning war. We had nations that looked away from atrocities. We learned our lesson in blood." His tablet beeped again. "Admiral West's report, weapon facility construction accelerating. Estimate 3 months to completion." The young refugee's skin rippled with hope, the first such display Miller had seen from their kind in months. "Then you'll help us." "We already are," Tom said, activating another hologram. This one showed Earth's hidden fleet movements. Hundreds of ships positioned near key strategic points, all running silent. "We've been preparing since we first suspected the truth." The eldest refugee studied the hologram. "The Bright Ones think you're primitive, that your ships are weak." Miller smiled. "They think our ships use simple fusion drives because that's all we've let them see. They don't know about our advances in stealth technology, our quantum weaponry, our combat AIs." He paused. "But we need absolute proof of their plans before we can act. The galaxy must know the truth." "We can help," the wounded refugee said. "I can show you how to access their secure networks. But why do you keep this secret? Why not tell the Council now?" Tom shut down the holograms as Miller's tablet showed another message. "Fleet Group 3 reports Bright 1 activity near Refugee Station 89. Possible weapon test preparations." "Because," Miller said, "the Bright Ones have spent 10,000 years convincing the galaxy they're enlightened beings of pure energy and wisdom. If we accuse them without perfect proof, no one will believe us. We'll look like primitives telling tales about their betters." The eldest refugee's skin rippled with understanding. "And when you do reveal the truth?" Miller gathered his tablet and straightened his tie. "Then humanity will show the galaxy that being young doesn't mean being weak, and being ancient doesn't mean being right. The refugees left first, taking separate routes back to their hidden shelter. As Tom prepared to leave, he looked at Miller. Earth Command wants to know how long we should wait. Miller thought of the weapon installations, of the refugee stations, of all the species too afraid to act. Tell them to be ready. When the moment comes, we'll have to move fast. He just prayed they wouldn't be too late. Kate Waters studied the holographic star map in the command center of Earth's hidden base on Unity Point's maintenance level. Red markers showed confirmed weapon sites. Yellow showed suspected locations. There were far too many of both. The door hissed open as Miller and Tom entered. They looked tired after 3 days of secret meetings with refugee informants. The data from the Deep Dweller technician checks out, Miller said, dropping the secure data crystal on the table. The Bright Ones didn't just start this war. They'd done it before. Kate activated the crystal's contents. A new layer appeared on the star map. Ancient colony sites of extinct species. The pattern was clear. Every 1,000 years or so, a primitive species would threaten the Bright One's power. Then a war would start, and that species would mysteriously vanish. How did no one notice this pattern? Tom asked, his voice heavy with disbelief. Because the Bright Ones are very good at hiding evidence, a new voice said. They turned to see Mark Wilson, Earth's best xenorchaeologist, entering the room. He looked excited despite his obvious exhaustion, but they made a mistake this time. Mark placed an ancient artifact on the table. It looked like a simple metal cube, but its surface shifted with strange patterns. This is from the last walkers, a species that vanished 3,000 years ago, Mark explained. Everyone thought they destroyed themselves in a civil war. But look at this. He activated the cube. A hologram appeared, showing massive ships firing weapons that broke matter apart at the molecular level. The ships had the distinctive glow of Bright One technology. They didn't just record the attack, Mark said. They hid copies of these cubes across dozens of worlds. The Bright Ones found and destroyed most of them, but they missed this one. And now we know where to look for more. Kate updated the star map with the new information. Our stealth ships have been recording everything. The Bright Ones are getting sloppy. They think no one can see through their sensor blockers. They don't know about Project Shadow, Miller said with a grim smile. Earth's greatest scientific achievement, ships that could move completely unseen through space, had been kept secret for exactly this kind of situation. Tom brought up another hologram, showing the latest footage. A Bright One warship firing on an unarmed transport. A research station testing weapons on living subjects. Supply ships moving construction materials to the weapon facilities. We have enough evidence, Kate said. Why aren't we acting yet? Miller walked to the star map, studying the patterns of ship movements. Because we need the galaxy to see the truth all at once. If we move too soon, the Bright Ones will spin it as primitive humans attacking their betters. We need. His tablet buzzed urgently. The message was from one of their hidden ships. Bright One fleet moving toward Refugee Station 89. Multiple weapon ships detected. They're going to test their new weapon on the refugees, Tom said, his face pale. Kate's hands moved over the controls, bringing up tactical displays. Earth Fleet Groups 3 and 7 can intercept, but it would expose our true capabilities. Miller felt the weight of the decision. They had evidence of past crimes, proof of the Bright One's lies. But revealing everything now might not be enough to convince the galaxy. Yet if they waited, thousands of refugees would die. His tablet buzzed again. A message from Earth Command. Your call, Ambassador. Fleet stands ready. Tell the fleet to maintain position, Miller said finally. But get our stealth recorders as close as possible. The galaxy needs to see this. We're going to let it happen. Tom asked, his voice strained. Miller looked at the images of past atrocities, of vanished species, of weapons that could tear worlds apart. No, we're going to let them show everyone who they really are. And then, Kate asked. And then humanity will do what it does best, Miller said. Stand up to bullies who think power means they can do whatever they want. He looked at his team, the soldier, the spy, the scientist, all united in purpose. Get everything ready. When Station 89 happens, we'll need to move fast. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity's learned from its history. And this time, he thought, the tyrants wouldn't win. The emergency alert woke Miller at 300 station time. He was dressed and running toward the command center before the second chime finished. The corridors of Unity Point were eerily empty, but he could hear commotion coming from the main council chamber. Kate and Tom were already at their stations when he arrived. The main screen showed live feeds from multiple stealth ships around Refugee Station 89. How bad? Miller asked, though he already knew the answer from their faces. They'd brought their new weapon, Kate said, her voice tight. 3 carrier ships, 6 destroyers, and something we've never seen before. The energy readings are off the charts. The refugee station hung in space like a delicate silver flower, its petals housing over 20,000 civilians. Bright One ships surrounded it, their glow seeming somehow colder than usual. Station leadership is begging for help on all channels, Tom reported. The Bright Ones are blocking most transmissions, but our quantum channels are getting through. Miller watched as the massive new weapon ship moved into position. Its center was a swirling vortex of energy that made the sensors struggle to maintain focus. Earth Command is asking for orders, Kate said. We have 4 fleet groups within range. We could save them. Miller closed his eyes for a moment. How many council species are watching? All of them, Tom said. The Bright Ones are broadcasting on open channels. They're calling it a peacekeeping operation against terrorist elements. The main screen suddenly lit up with new alerts. The weapon ship had powered up. They're going to do it, Kate whispered. They're really going to. The beam that shot from the weapon ship was almost beautiful. It struck the station's central hub and spread like liquid light. Where it touched, matter simply came apart. The station didn't explode. It dissolved, breaking down into constituent atoms as 20,000 voices went silent. In the council chamber, the emergency session had begun. Miller could hear the voices through the command center's monitors. This is a tragic necessity, the Bright One representative was saying. The station was harboring dangerous elements. Those were children. The Deep Dweller delegate roared. Families. They had nowhere else to go. Other representatives made appropriate sounds of concern, called for investigations, suggested committees to study the incident. No one suggested action. Miller's tablet lit up with a priority message from Earth's president. You have full authorization. God help us all. Send the footage, Miller ordered. Every frame, every sensor reading, every scream. Send it to every news outlet, every diplomatic channel, every civilian network in the galaxy. Transmitting now, Tom confirmed, adding the historical evidence and refugee testimonies as well. The command center speakers carried the council debate. The Bright One representative was still talking, still justifying mass murder with smooth words about security and necessity. Fleet status, Miller asked quietly. Kate's hands flew over her console. All groups reporting ready. Quantum weapons hot, stealth systems engage. Admiral West says they can hit 23 critical Bright One installations in the first minute. Miller straightened his tie and picked up his tablet. Record everything that happens in the next hour. Future historians will want to know exactly how this started. You're going to the council chamber? Tom asked. Yes. Miller paused at the door. Humanity spent too many centuries watching tyrants justify murder, watching civilized powers wring their hands and do nothing. Not this time. He looked at his team, the ones who had helped uncover the truth, who had watched and gathered evidence while wanting desperately to act sooner. Activate final protocol, he ordered. When I give the signal, I want every hidden fleet we have to decloak simultaneously. Let's show the galaxy what humanity's really capable of. The door hissed open, and Miller walked toward the council chamber. Behind him, Earth's greatest secret weapon, not its ships or its technology, but its unwillingness to stand by while innocents died was finally ready to be revealed. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had outgrown its cradle, and humanity had not forgotten its history. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives shouted over each other while emergency displays showed the dissolving remains of Refugee Station 89. The Bright One representative stood at the central platform, their glow pulsing with what seemed like satisfaction as they called for calm and reasonable discussion. Miller walked down the main aisle, his footsteps echoing in a momentary lull. Every eye and sensor in the chamber turned to watch the human diplomat approach the speaking platform. The Bright One representative's glow flickered with annoyance. "The primitive species are not recognized at this time," they said. "We are discussing matters beyond their understanding." Miller ignored them and kept walking. The council speaker's crystalline form shifted uncertainly. "Ambassador Miller, this is most irregular." 20,000 civilians, Miller said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "Children, families, scientists, artists. 20,000 lives ended because they asked for shelter from war." He reached the platform. The Bright One representative tried to block his path, their energy field crackling with warning. "You dare interrupt." "I dare much more than that," Miller said. He activated his tablet, and every screen in the chamber filled with images, ancient records of vanished species, sensor data showing weapon tests, refugee testimonies, evidence gathered over months of patient watching. "For too long, humanity stayed quiet," Miller continued. "We watched, we gathered evidence, we tried to understand why the great civilizations of the galaxy would allow such crimes." The chamber had gone completely silent. Even the Bright One representative seemed frozen in shock at the flood of evidence appearing on every screen. "We learned that power does not equal wisdom," Miller said. "That age does not equal righteousness. That being young does not mean being blind." His tablet beeped, the signal that Earth's fleets were in position. "The species you call primitive has seen this before." Miller's voice grew stronger. "We've watched tyrants justify murder. We've seen civilized powers choose convenience over conscience. We've learned what happens when good people do nothing." The Bright One representative's glow had turned harsh, angry. "You forget your place, human." "No," Miller said quietly. "You forget history. Earth has faced bullies before. We've fought wars that scorched our planet. We've seen genocide and sworn never again. We've learned that there are times when staying neutral means supporting evil." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes and sensors of every representative. "Humanity has a message for the galaxy," he said. "We're entering the war." Laughter erupted from the Bright One representative. "You? Your primitive ships? Your simple weapons? You would dare?" Miller pressed a button on his tablet. Across the galaxy, hundreds of Earth's most advanced warships shimmered into view. They appeared next to every major Bright One military installation, every weapon research facility, every fleet staging point. Ships that no one had detected, using technology no one knew Earth possessed. The chamber's displays showed it all. Earth's hidden fleets, armed with weapons that could match anything the Bright Ones had. Quantum cannons powered up. Targeting systems locked on. "We are not primitive," Miller said into the stunned silence. "We are not weak. We are humanity. And we remember our history." He turned to face the Bright One representative directly. "You tested your weapon on children today. You thought no one would dare stand against you. You were wrong." The council erupted in shouts and questions. The Bright One representative's glow had dimmed to almost nothing. The Deep Dweller delegation was radiating waves of hope for the first time in months. Miller's tablet showed new messages flooding in. Other species asking to join Earth's cause. Offers of alliance. Promises of support. "The galaxy stands at a crossroads," Miller said. "Humanity has chosen its path. We will not watch genocide happen again. We will not stay neutral in the face of evil. We will not be silent." He looked up at the great dome of stars above the chamber. "We're entering the war," he repeated softly. "And may God have mercy on those who made that necessary." The Bright One warships appeared exactly where Kate had predicted, trying to flank Earth's fleet near their main weapon research facility. Admiral West watched from his command ship, the ESS Defender, as enemy vessels emerged from hyperspace in a classic attack formation. "They still think we're primitive," West said to his bridge crew. "Let's show them how Earth fights." The Bright One commander's message boomed across all channels. "Surrender now, young species, and we may show mercy." West smiled. "All ships, execute battle plan Thor." Earth's fleet suddenly split into 3 groups, performing maneuvers that should have been impossible at their speed. The Bright Ones had never seen humanity's inertial control technology in action. Their shots went wide, missing the impossibly agile human ships. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "they're powering up their molecular disassembly weapon." "Just as planned," West replied. "All ships, activate quantum shields." The Bright One weapon fired, a beam of pure destruction that had turned Refugee Station 89 to atoms. It hit the quantum shields of Earth's lead ships and scattered harmlessly into space. In the Unity Point Command Center, Miller watched the battle alongside Tom and Kate. The tactical display showed similar scenes playing out across 20 different systems as Earth's hidden fleets engaged their targets. "How did they react to the shields?" Miller asked. Kate's grin was fierce. "Total shock. They didn't know we'd learned to counter their ultimate weapon." Admiral West reports they're falling back to secondary positions. The door burst open as representatives from various species rushed in. The Deep Dweller ambassador was first, their liquid skin rippling with excitement. "The Trading Worlds Alliance has voted," they announced. "We're joining Earth's coalition. Our fleets are yours to command." More representatives followed. The Crystal Collective, the Star Nomads, the Machine Worlds. Species that had stayed neutral for fear of the Bright Ones were now choosing sides. Tom's console lit up with new signals. "Sir, we're getting reports from across the galaxy. Civilian ships are attacking Bright One facilities. Resistance movements are rising up. Everyone who lost family to their weapons is fighting back." On the main screen, Admiral West's fleet pressed their advantage. The Bright One ships were in disarray, facing an enemy that could match their best weapons and outmaneuver their fastest ships. "Their commander is requesting to surrender," Kate reported. Miller nodded. "Accept it. Show the galaxy how humans treat surrendered enemies. With justice, not vengeance." A new alert flashed on the tactical display. The Bright Ones had launched a desperate counterattack against one of Earth's smaller fleet groups near their capital world. "They think they found a weak point," Kate said with a grim smile. "Show me," Miller ordered. The display zoomed in. The Bright One fleet had committed 30 ships to the attack. They were driving hard toward what looked like a lightly defended human position. Then the trap sprung. Earth ships decloaked behind and beside the enemy fleet. The Bright Ones found themselves surrounded by forces they hadn't even known were there. "Commander Roberts sends his compliments," Tom reported. "Says the enemy fleet is surrendering without a shot fired." The representatives watching the display burst into excited chatter. They had never seen the mighty Bright Ones so thoroughly outmaneuvered. Miller's tablet chimed with a priority message from Earth Command. Phase 1 successful. All primary targets secured. Minimal casualties on all sides. He looked around at the gathered representatives, former neutrals now becoming allies, watching humanity demonstrate not just its military power, but its commitment to justice. "Send word to all fleets," Miller ordered. "Accept surrenders. Secure weapons facilities. Protect civilian populations, including Bright One civilians. Show the galaxy that humanity remembers not just how to fight wars, but how to win peace." The representatives nodded in approval. Earth wasn't just winning battles, it was showing a better way forward. "The Bright Ones thought being young made us weak," Tom said quietly. "They never understood that it made us adaptable. Creative. They will learn, Miller replied, watching as more allies joined the coalition. The whole galaxy will learn that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our ships. What is it? Asked one of the representatives. Miller smiled. Our memory of what it costs to stay silent in the face of evil, and our determination to never make that mistake again. 3 months after humanity entered the war, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. The tiered seating had been rearranged. No more primitive section at the bottom. All species now sat as equals, with Earth's delegation placed among the founding members of the new Freedom Coalition. Miller stood at the central platform, but this time he wasn't alone. Representatives from 27 species stood with him, including the Deep Dwellers. Together, they faced the Bright One delegation, now reduced to 3 dim glowing figures under guard. The evidence has been presented, the council speaker announced. The Bright One's crimes span millennia. The extinction of the last walkers, the destruction of the Crystal Gardens, the massacre at Station 89. How do the accused respond? The lead Bright One representative's glow flickered weakly. We did what was necessary to maintain order. You primitive species could never understand. We understand perfectly, Miller interrupted. You destroyed anyone who might one day challenge your power. You killed civilians to spread fear. You thought being old made you right. He turned to address the full council. But age doesn't grant wisdom. Power doesn't grant justice. The real measure of civilization isn't how long you've had technology. It's what you choose to do with it. The chamber's displays showed the ongoing reconstruction efforts. Deep Dweller worlds being rebuilt. Refugee families returning home. Former Bright One weapon facilities being converted into research centers for peaceful technology. Kate stepped forward from her new position as Earth's military liaison. The Freedom Coalition fleet has secured all known weapon sites. The molecular disassembly technology has been contained. And what of our sovereignty? The Bright One representative demanded. Will Earth now rule the galaxy? Tom, now head of the new Galactic Intelligence Service, pulled up records on the main display. Your core worlds remain your own, but your military will be disbanded, your weapons destroyed. Your leadership will face trial for crimes against sapient life. The machine world representatives' lights blinked in agreement. Earth has shown us a better way. They could have destroyed you completely. Instead, they chose justice over vengeance. Miller nodded to Admiral West, who stood at attention in his formal uniform. Our fleets will be combined into the new Coalition Defense Force. All member species will contribute ships and crews. No one species will have sole control of military power again. The Deep Dweller ambassador's skin rippled with emotion. 3 months ago, we faced extinction. Now we help lead a new alliance. Earth showed us that unity is stronger than fear. The council chamber's great dome had been repaired after the brief fighting at Unity Point. Through it, ships from 24 species could be seen patrolling together, Earth's advanced vessels flying alongside their new allies. The war is over, Miller announced. But our work is just beginning. The coalition isn't just about military power. It's about building something better. The displays showed the new projects already underway: joint scientific missions, cultural exchange programs, trade routes reopening. Species that had once feared each other now working side by side. Humanity remembers its own history, Miller continued. We remember world wars that nearly destroyed us. We remember how we learned to work together. We remember that peace isn't just the absence of war. It's the presence of justice. The Council voted unanimously to ratify the Coalition Charter. As the chamber erupted in celebration, Miller felt a presence beside him. It was the same representative who had warned him months ago about young species getting involved in ancient conflicts. I was wrong about humanity, they said quietly. We thought you were primitive because you were young. But your youth was your strength. You hadn't forgotten your history. You hadn't grown comfortable with injustice. Miller watched as former enemies signed treaties of cooperation, as refugee children played in rebuilt stations, as a new era of galactic civilization began. That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy, he replied. Not our ships or our weapons, but our memory of what evil looks like and our promise to never let it win again. Above them, through the crystal dome, the stars shone on a galaxy forever changed by the species that everyone had dismissed as primitive, until they proved that being young didn't mean being weak, and being right was more important than being ancient.